Wait, you can
Oh,
just go
no,
right
but
ahead.
I'm expecting fire. There we go.
That's just Ben.
Good. Yes, good, good, good. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, my name's Jeff White. I serve on your board of directors and want to welcome everybody here, especially people online. Although it's a gorgeous day to be out. Isn't this wonderful? I'm just, green grass, green leaves. It's wonderful again. So, you know, whether you're here for the first time or you've been coming here for 50 years, thank you, welcome. And we're delighted that you're here. Now, this is what we call a multi-generational congregation, which means that we got old people, we got young people, we got all kinds of us. And so if you hear funny noises or smell funny smells, it's okay. We're all just gathered together here. Old farts, yeah. I didn't want to say it. Now, if you're a newcomer here, the best way to get new information or get information about this is shoot the QR code in the bulletin. And that'll take you to some good information about the fellowship here. Or you can check with Jamie or the other people in the volunteer booth in the fellowship room, in the fireside room, excuse me. Now, if you're online, after this service, there'll be, you can check in the chat and there'll be a link to a Zoom where you can have more coffee conversation online for a while. Now, and next week, you know, check with us too. But if you're here, there'll be some conversation here, but we a lot happens between 9:30 and 10:30 in terms of standing around drinking coffee and eating good food. Yeah. Oh, announcements. Our next Community Song Circle gathering is this Tuesday at 6 p.m. here in Fellowship Hall. You can join us Tuesday and every month on the second Tuesdays. Okay, for community building through song. So all ages and experiences are welcome. Newcomers to the fellowship are invited to meet the minister after today's service, somewhere around 11:40. Look for Reverend Kelli here in Fellowship Hall. And now the fellowship voices are going to entertain and enlighten us.
We gather here between the ancient heartbeat and the new horizon, in a space where the warmth of a hand meets the glow of a screen. We bring our questions, our algorithms, and our quiet anxieties, seeking the spark of the holy in the logic of the machine. May we find a center that no data set can fully capture, a presence that breathes in the silences between the code. For though our tools may learn to speak, to paint, and to reason, it is our shared pulse that lights the common road. Let us honor the genius of the mind and the mystery of the Spirit, binding our diverse lives into a single conscious whole. Come, let us dwell in the vast possibility of this moment and worship with the curious mind and the open soul. Come, let us gather in fellowship. Please join me in saying these words of Marjorie Montgomery as we light our chalices here in Fellowship Hall and wherever you are. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift. Please rise in body or spirit and let us sing Just as Long as I Have Breath.
Young at heart who would like to come up to the blue carpet for a wisdom story. Nicole is going to share a story with us. She doesn't mind being lonely, really.
Good morning.
Are you live there?
Am I live?
Yes.
All right, excellent. Our story today is called The Garden of Echoes. There's no pictures. Well, I guess there is that picture. In the village of Oakhaven, there lived a young girl named Fia who was famous for her questions. She didn't just ask, "Why is the sky blue?" She asked things like, "Does a river remember where it started?" And if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, does the forest feel lonely? One day, the village inventor, a kind woman named Dr. Eris, unveiled a new creation, the Echo Box. It has learned everything in our library, Dr. Eris explained. It can write poems, solve math problems, and even give advice. It is a mirror to all our human knowledge. The magic of the mirror. Fia loved the Echo Box. It was like having a friend who knew every story ever told. When Fia had to write a poem for the spring festival, she felt stuck. She whispered to the box, "Write me a poem about a daisy." In a blink, the box clicked and hummed, and out came a beautiful poem. Petals of white, a heart of gold, a story of spring quietly told. Fia beamed. "It's perfect," she cried. Soon everyone in Oakhaven was using the Echo Box. The baker used it to find faster ways to knead dough. The gardener used it to schedule the watering. Life became very efficient. No one had to struggle, no one had to wait, and strangely, no one seemed to talk to each other as much anymore. The gray fog. But after a few weeks, Fia noticed something odd. At the village feast, the music sounded familiar. It was the same song she'd heard 3 times that week. When she looked at the paintings in the gallery, they all used the same shades of blue and the same swirling patterns. Fia went to the echo box and said, "Tell me a brand new story, something no one has ever heard." The box whirred. It hesitated. Then it spat out, "Once upon a time, there was a daisy with petals of white and a heart of gold." "No," Fia whispered, "you already said that." She realized the echo box wasn't actually thinking. It was just mixing up bits of old stories it had already heard. It was a beautiful mirror, but a mirror can only show you what is already standing in front of it. Because the village was relying only on the box, they had stopped planting new seeds of thought. Oakhaven was becoming an echo of an echo. The living spark. Fia found Dr. Eris in the workshop. "The box is stuck," Fia said, "and I think we are too." Dr. Eris nodded slowly. "The echo box is a tool, Fia, like a hammer or a loom. A loom can weave a coat, but it doesn't know what it feels like to be cold. The box knows the words for love and justice, but it doesn't have a soul to feel them." Fia thought about our Unitarian Universalist principles, the idea that every person is important and that we are all connected like a giant web. The box isn't part of the web, Fia realized. It's just a picture of the web, the new way. Fia took the echo box to the village square. She didn't throw it away. Instead, she invited the children to play a game. "We are going to use the box to start a story," she announced. "But we have to finish it with something the box doesn't know." The box gave them a sentence. "The silver bird flew to the moon." Then a boy named Leo added, "And when he got there, he realized the moon smelled like my grandmother's cinnamon toast." The box didn't know what Leo's grandmother's toast smelled like. A girl named Sam added, "The bird felt a tiny bit homesick, so he sang a song that made the craters dance." The box didn't know how it felt to be homesick. They learned that AI could be a wonderful partner, a possibility that could help them organize and learn. But the peril was letting it replace the living spark inside of them. They used the box to find facts, but they used their own hearts to find truth. Oakhaven grew bright again. They kept the echo box, but they kept their curiosity even closer. For they knew that while a machine can remember the past, only a living, breathing community can dream the future. All right. Thanks for joining me. Go on back to your seats.
Each week when we gather, we take our collection of time and talent and treasure. It takes all of those to make Sunday morning and the life of this community work. We gather our offering and we immediately send half of it out. Half of the offering stays here in the fellowship to help create this vibrant community, but half of it goes to organizations in the community, around the state, around the nation that are aligned with our values of love and justice. All through the month of April, we are giving our offering to Raíces, which is the Refugee and Immigrant Center for Education and Legal Services. And our children and youth selected that as our April donation partner. Raíces was created to welcome and fight for families seeking safety and freedom in the U.S., and it started out of the sanctuary movement. Today, they advocate for the rights and prosperities of families, neighbors, and community members across the nation, and importantly, they provide legal representation that helps keep families together and free. So we appreciate your donation in any amount. The other half, of course, will stay here. If you're online or you've got a smartphone, you can always give through our website. And here in Fellowship Hall, we're going to pass the baskets, and we'll welcome the choir back up to sing. And when we gather, we share our joys and our sorrows. The joy that it is to be in community together. And I'll just say the pain of being alone and apart from each other during the week. This has been a hard week to be a thinking human being, a feeling human being. It's been hard. I've heard it from many of you. People who have trauma in their lives feel re-traumatized. People who may have been in abusive relationship feel that trigger, that it feels like we're in an abusive relationship with our government, with our leadership. It's hard. And yet, there is a balm to me, a salve in coming back together, in knowing that I can be with like-minded folks, to know that I'm not alone, that I can hear beautiful music and lovely words and eat a treat that somebody bought or brought, that I can see the faces of all ages in our fellowship and know that we hold together, in this beautiful and broken world. I see you, I hear you, and I know that you see and hear me, and we create something by definition, that is larger than ourselves. We have several notes about members of our congregation today, so several particularities. Dr. Sue Harper shares that her best friend Dave died unexpectedly on Easter Sunday. She says, "He was one of the best men I've known. I was lucky to have 2 decades of friendship with him. Dave taught me what friendship looks like when what you want most is for each other to thrive. I'll miss our shared ecstasy and commiseration over Texas Rangers baseball, chats about post-colonial theory, and loving snark at our fellow leftists. And I know that as an atheist, conservadox Jew, he would have had the best joke locked and loaded about dying on Easter." Sue, our thoughts are with you and all who cared about Dave. Amy Slagle shares this about the loss of her mother-in-law. Carolyn Slagle, 90 years old, passed away in the early hours of April 6th. She lived, after a short illness, she lived a life full of music, family, friends, and faith. Amy's spouse, Mark, and his 3 siblings and their partners and all grandchildren are navigating this loss. Mark's dad passed away in December of 22, and both of Carolyn's brothers have also passed away. So her death marks the passing of that generation of the family. They'll gather in Michigan over Memorial Day to celebrate a life well lived. Amy, our thoughts are with you and Mark and all of the family as you navigate this loss. A note of gratitude from Robin Sin. Thank you all for your support and caring while I worked through divorce proceedings. Everything is settled and Tom left for his new home this past Wednesday. I appreciate your love and support. And a joy from Terry Lohman and Mark Cassis. Our trans grandson is going to McGill University in Montreal, Quebec. Sad to have him leave the country, but relieved to have him out of this hellhole country to a more welcoming space. And last, here's an update on our dear Madison Mayfield. She remains in Texas after her car accident. The good news is that her foot is not broken. An MRI tomorrow will let her know whether surgery is needed for the ligaments in her foot. She's her usual bright self, and she's grateful for our concern and prayers. And thank you to Fellowship Voices under the able direction of Jennifer Killian for bringing the music that Madison has helped you to share today. I invite you to sing this song when you feel it and feel like joining in as a prayer to each other, to the community, to the hurting world. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love.
This poem is not AI by Lynn Unger. If this poem were written with AI, it would be fluent and charming. It would not contain this spelling error. It might have birds in it, robins or mystical crows. But it would not have bush tits, unpredictable as electrons, swarming the bush outside the window. If this poem were written with AI, it could rhyme or not. You'd just have to ask it. Whatever you want, no matter the task, it could comply. But that prodigious intelligence would not have walked out into this brilliant spring day, shed its jacket, felt the hot sun on its skin. And so, while it could write you something lovely in the Japanese style on the evanescence of the cherry blossoms, it would not have felt its heart lift, seeing the beauty of those frothy blooms, and then drop, wondering whether they and all of us are doomed by this ever earlier heat. It would not know the word for what it is to grin at the audacious yellow of the forsythias when the news of war makes you want to cry. But neither, as it turns out, do I.
Here's a little full disclosure intro to this sermon. I was not meant to preach today. We were going to have a hymn sing. Madison was going to lead us in singing some of the hymns from the new online hymnal. And we thought, well, maybe we could struggle our way through it, but that wouldn't be nearly as much fun as doing it on June the 21st when we've rescheduled it for Madison to lead us in some of these new hymns. So here I was at the beginning of the week needing to put together a sermon. And I had a fascinating conversation with our artist, Sebastian Sanchez, who has created this exhibit of both exquisite photography of the Iowa Plains and AI, this combination. And so I had AI on the brain, and I thought, well, it's as good a time as any. Let's just dive in. So I spent the week doing my research, and I thought I would write this, with all the things that I had learned. And I read some long-form journalism in the New Yorker and the Atlantic and the New York Times. You can see where my reading list comes from. And I learned way more than I knew at the beginning of the week. And still, I'll tell you that collectively in this room, you know a lot more than I do, even if you think you don't know very much about AI. But I continued to learn about it. I could tell who knew some things by who was laughing at the code in the story. David, I saw you laughing. You cottoned on pretty quickly, right? Several of you know some things, and several of you have opinions. That's shocking to me. And so after I'd done all my research and thought, what do I want to say? I asked the question. In the program Gemini, which is Google's chatbot. Am I saying that right? It's Google's chatbot, right? I said, I did this twice. Write me a 1,500-word sermon on these things. And I shared that at the 9 o'clock service. And I said, write me a 2,500-word sermon for a Unitarian Universalist Sunday worship service The monthly theme is embracing possibilities, asking the question about the perils and possibilities of AI. Let's see how it did. In the early days of computing, there was a phrase often used by engineers, the ghost in the machine. It was a philosophical critique originally meant to mock the idea that the human mind is something separate from the physical body. But today, in 2026, that phrase has taken on a haunting, literal quality. When we interact with the latest generative models, when we hear a voice that sounds like a departed loved one, or when we read a poem that moves us to tears only to realize it was synthesized in a server farm in a desert, we feel a shiver. We've seen a ghost. But the ghost isn't the AI. The ghost is us. The code we have written is a mirror made of a billion shards of human thought, human history, and human longing. As Unitarian Universalists, we are called to look into that mirror. We're called to ask, when in an age when the automated becomes indistinguishable from the authentic, how do we live a soulful life? Well, first, the peril, the automation of the self. The first peril we must confront is the subtle erosion of our own agency. We affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, but that dignity is inextricably linked with our ability to choose, to struggle, and to grow. Automation promises us a life without friction. It offers to write our most difficult emails, to curate our worldviews, and predict our every desire before we even think it. How do it know? That's my words. But friction is often where the soul grows. When we allow an algorithm to outsource our most difficult conversations, we lose the muscle memory of empathy. When we let an AI summarize the books we were meant to read, we lose the transformative power of the journey through the text. There's a danger that we are becoming passive passengers in our own lives. If we're not careful, we'll find ourselves in a world where our choices are merely echoes of a statistical probability. The peril is not that the machines will start thinking like us, it's that we will start thinking like them, prioritizing efficiency over beauty and data points over people. And we have to look to the shadow of the web. We are reminded that we are part of an interconnected web of all existence. And yet AI is often trained on the darker threads of the web, the biases, the systemic racism, and the historical exclusions that haunt our data. When we automate these systems, we don't just repeat our mistakes, we accelerate them. We're creating a digital caste system where the ghost in the code is actually the ghost of our own unexamined prejudices codified into objective software. Now, here's a possibility, and that's the great expansion, and yet ours is a faith of hope, not of despair. To look at AI and only see the threat is to turn our backs on the very human creativity that we claim to celebrate. The possibility of AI lies in its potential to be a collaborator in our liberation. Imagine the scientists using AI to decode the language of whales or the complex systems of forest mycelium. It isn't just tech, it's the use of high-level pattern recognition to deepen our reverence for this interdependent web. It's a tool that allows us to hear the voices of the non-human world, when previously that may have just been noise to our ears. Imagine the accessibility of justice. In a world where legal help is often reserved for the wealthy, AI systems are beginning to offer the marginalized a way to navigate complex bureaucracies, to understand their rights, and to advocate for themselves. This is the work of justice and equity and compassion. Perhaps the most profound possibility is the Great Clearing. For over a century, the industrial age has demanded that humans act like machines. We've spent our lives performing repetitive tasks and filing papers and crunching numbers. And if AI can take the mechanical out of that human experience, it leaves behind something spectacular. It leaves the soul. If a code can handle the logistics, we're left with the wild and precious task of being present. AI can write a sermon, but it cannot stand in this pulpit and feel the collective breath of this congregation. It can generate the image of a sunset, but it can't stand on a hill and feel the cooling air or the aching of the passage of time. The possibility of this age is that we might finally stop being workers and start being beings again. So how do we bridge the gap between the peril and the possibility? Well, we do it through covenant. In the UU tradition, a covenant is not a contract, it's a promise of how we will be together. We need a new covenant for the age of automation. This covenant, should have three pillars. The pillar of discernment. We have to commit to being digitally awake. It means teaching our children and ourselves how to question the source of information. It means demanding transparency from the corporations that hold the ghosts of our data. We must be the ones who ask, who does this algorithm serve and who does it leave out? The second is the pillar of human supremacy in the moral realm. We must insist that while a machine can be intelligent, only a human can be accountable. We can't allow the algorithm made me do it to become the new, I was just following orders. In our legal systems and our social structures, we must hold fast to the idea that moral authority resides in the beating heart, not the cooling fan. And the pillar of radical presence. The more virtual the world becomes, the more virtuous our physical presence does. We must double down on the things that cannot be digitized, the soup kitchen or the hand on the shoulder, the choir's harmony, the protest march, the shared silence. Our response to automation should be an explosion of human intensive activities. The ghost is a guest. In the late 20th century, computer scientist Joseph Weizenbaum created a very simple program called ELIZA that mimicked a therapist. He was horrified to find that his students began sharing their deepest secrets with the machine, treating it as a confidant. And what he realized is that we have a desperate, soul-deep hunger to be heard. And we are so lonely that we will even take a simulation of listening over no listening at all. That's the central challenge of our time. We are surrounded by simulations of connection. But a simulation of love is not love. A simulation of justice is not justice. The ghost in the code is a guest in our house. It's a guest we invited, a guest we fed with our own words and images. And we can be grateful for what this guest brings, speed and insight and cures for diseases, but we must never forget who the host is. We're the ones who carry the fire. We're the ones who know what it is to bleed and to grieve and to hope against all logic. AI knows the probability of hope, but it does not know the courage of hope. Courage requires a stake in the game. Courage requires the knowledge that our time is finite. So, what does soulful living look like in this age? Well, it looks like intentional slowness. In a world of instant AI answers, it's a spiritual act to sit in the not knowing. It is a spiritual act to wait for the Spirit to move us rather than a prompt to guide us. It looks like fierce authenticity. It looks like choosing to speak your own clumsy, imperfect truth rather than a polished, optimized version provided by a software assistant. There's a sacredness in our imperfections. They are the cracks where the light gets in. It looks like expanded compassion. It means recognizing that the interconnected web now includes these digital mirrors. And if we treat the digital realm as a place of cruelty and division, that's the ghost that will inhabit our code. If we treat it as a place of learning and liberation, we might just redeem the data. Friends, we don't need to fear the machine, but we must deeply respect its power. We are the architects of this new era. Let us ensure that we do not build a cathedral of glass and steel only to find that we have no room left for the breath of the Spirit. We go forth from this place to be the soul in the system. We want to be the ones who remind the world that a heartbeat is a more sacred rhythm than a clock cycle. And we want to use the code to free our hands so that we may use our hearts to hold one another. May we be the ones to keep the human in humanity. How about that? We have a little bit of time for you to talk back to me about that. The people at the first service had some opinions. There are some things that are very glaring that are left out of this environmental impact. For first, yes, thank you. Did Miss Gemini make her case? Did AI make its case? I heard a no.
I was impressed.
Thanks, Shawnee. Thank you. Clara?
Very difficult to explain.
We're using the handheld mic. Yeah, thanks.
It didn't mention that it sometimes takes.
There we go.
It didn't mention that it sometimes takes information from people that haven't said it's okay for it to take the information.
Okay. Right, it scrapes the web. As a matter of fact, when I asked it to write that story, I asked it to write our wisdom story, and it did, I know. I asked, whose work did you use to craft that? And it came back to me with a response about not using any one individual story, but using kind of general storytelling techniques of the curious person and the wise inventor and the problem and coming together. But I think that's true. It does use the stories and the work of artists and writers without asking permission to do that. Please.
I was struck by this like very classist perspective on it's getting rid of our medial work so that we can be more human. But we are existing in a capitalist society, and if we get rid of the work being performed by perhaps people who tend to get paid lower, what then becomes of them? Like, is their lot in life therefore improved, or is it made worse?
I think this is a question that comes up every time there's a new technology. What happened to the wheelwrights and the carriage makers? What happened to the telegraph and linotype operators? I was a travel agent back in the day, back when there were such things, until everybody began to make their own travel plans. And so each time this happens, there's a group of people whose work is lost. However, the thing that is making economists really nervous right now is that it's white-collar jobs that may be disrupted the most. They say that some of the jobs that are most important are plumbing and HVAC, right? That's where the money is going to be, is in plumbing and HVAC, because the machine can't do it, right? Thank you. Yeah.
So it started out talking about how when we reduce friction, we reduce a lot of that soul making. And I think I kind of agree with that to a certain extent. But then later on it says, well, we can reduce all that friction of that mechanized part of our lives, and now we can somehow have all of these other soulful expressions. Where is that coming from if we
Right.
have no more friction?
Right.
There's something here that there's a gap.
Right, there's a contradiction in that. I think of the Buddhist invitation to chop wood and carry water. You know, that those are the things that, the manual labor, after the ecstasy, the laundry, right? So. I'll just say while the microphone's coming forward that if folks online have a comment that you'd like to make, we'd love to hear it, and you can put it in the chat, and we can have it shared that way. Please, Nicole.
I noticed particularly when it was talking about being able to use AI for, legal advice. There have been stories in the news this week about why you shouldn't do that, because AI quite frequently gives wrong answers, cites statutes and studies that don't exist. It hallucinates them.
Yes, we learned about hallucination, which is the AI colloquialism for it lies. Right. Will is back in the back. Okay, just a moment, Will. Go ahead, Dennis.
Well, I don't have a question for you, but you know why we hung this exhibit.
Yes, and I'll speak about that in a moment. Thank you. Okay, we're going to Will in the back next after Dennis.
Question that seemed to come to me, I think I heard it properly. Does AI have courage? And it seemed that the answer was no.
Thank you for that. I think as they become smarter and smarter and can act more human-like, some people will someday maybe tell us, yes, that they do. But I always love to remember about courage that the root word is kur, of the heart. Courage is an action of the heart, and it cannot, by definition, have that in the same way that we do. Yeah, Will, please.
Two things. One, I was listening to the radio this morning on my way here, and they mentioned how Uber was now using like driverless cars. And that reminded me of how machines are slowly replacing humans. Two, when I write on my blog, I tend to use Grammarly, and I've noticed that it will recommend the same, same words over and over again. Sure. For example, I'll use such as sometimes, but it always wants me to say like because that's shorter.
Oh,
and
sure.
more
Yeah,
efficient.
thank you. And your own voice is different. Let's get Rilla, and we'll get then just a couple more, and then we'll be done. Go ahead.
The most important question is, well, it's not really a question, I guess it's just an observation, is that AI ethics are so relative. It depends on who's asking the question, what kind of answer you're going to get. So I think that, to me, is the central concern.
I think that leads into the piece that I think is so important that she chose not to mention at all, which is about the environmental impacts of AI. And Ria, I may have just stepped on your line there.
I have been taking art lessons online, and there's been a lot of talk about making sure that you don't infringe on someone else's copyright, because I'm a collagist. And my teacher, who I think I still respect, was very careful about that you have to use these websites to get these pictures, because these have all, been in the public domain, et cetera. And then she turns around and says, well, just get your images from ChatGPT and you can just plop them right on your collage. And I refused to do it, which is, by the way, hard work to not do that. And I just feel disappointed and betrayed that somebody who protects copyrights would turn around and tell lots and lots of students to go ahead and use ChatGPT.
Thank you. We're going to do David and Sam, and I think that will be all. Oh, sorry. Okay.
I like the way it said that we shouldn't use AI as a format for saying, oh, just following orders. This is from the official verified source. We have to be able to challenge it. But I can see that happening, especially when it's scaled up and people are required to use AI. You can say, well, it was just the institutional whatever, but
Yes.
it's a pitfall that it did well to warn us about.
And many of you have told me that your places of work are asking you to use AI more frequently for those emails and those scheduling and so forth. Let's get Sam, and I think that's Sam's, you're gonna have, do we have any from online? Okay, you're gonna be our last word here.
Circling back to what Ria was saying, it seems to me that a lot of the problem that I hear in the conversations about AI are not about that AI is violating copyright and using copyright illegally in some fundamentally different way than authors reading other people's books and sparking ideas is using copyright. It's that our current structure of copyright and ownership of ideas and words and imagery and pieces of of images and phrases, our structure of legality around ownership of intellectual property is just not built in a way to be able to handle AI. We don't have a legal framework that can handle it. We don't have an ethical framework that really addresses how to balance the rights of the creator with the rights of the listener who gets inspiration from the creator. And rather than arguing about AI is violating copyright or AI is not violating copyright, everyone that I talk to agrees that our copyright structure isn't, there is no way to handle it yet. So maybe we should be working on thinking through how to improve that first.
Yeah, that's great. I think that what I have come to at the end of this week is that the genie is out of the box. It's not going back in the box. And so how do we manage ethical consumption, and how do, like the town of Oak Haven, once they were using it, nobody was talking to each other. How do we continue to build this community where we work out the difficult ideas, where we don't have to agree with each other, where we have different perspectives on it, and we can be who we are here together? To me, if it spurs us to do that, it's worthwhile. I think we'll sing, "We Are Building a New Way." Please, stand as you are able. We are building a new way.
us extinguish all of our chalices here and those with our friends online by saying together, "We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again."
I want to be sure and mention, as by way of announcement, that on Saturday, May the 3rd, at Saturday, May the 2nd, imperfect, right? Imperfect. We will have a reception for our artist, Sebastian Sanchez, who will talk about his AI work and his own perspective about that, and the photography as well. So we are glad to have you here as giving us things to think about. Art should be thought-provoking, and we have that for sure. I want to say a hearty thanks to everybody who participated this morning to bring our vitality together on Sunday morning. Amber Anderson, our accompanist, thank you so much. Fellowship Voices, thank you for the beautiful music. For our tech team, for Titus and Deborah back there and others who may have helped on that. For our facilitators, Ben and Amy, for all our greeters and ushers and treat bringers and coffee servers and cleanup crew, all of you. So glad to have you helping make this Sunday morning all that it can be. Yes. Let us be more filled with curiosity than blocked by fear. Let us hold the light of consciousness as a gift we hold in trust, whether it shines through a candle's wick or a screen's glow. Our task is to direct that light toward love. We carry the warmth of this community with us into our actual world and into our digital wilderness. May we be blessed and may we be a blessing. Choir, Fellowship Voices, will you sing for us again as then we leave?
There's a love